Talking of old things,
Old.
what tech?
Careful.
What technology do you think was really before its time?
You had to do this. Are any of you old enough to remember, what was it called, 6 Degrees?
Of separation?
I'm guessing that's a no.
Contextualize.
Okay, I think it was probably the first social media site as we'd recognize a social media site.
I remember 6 Degrees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
I thought it was I didn't think of it in the context of a platform. I thought of it in the context of like a device.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do 6 Degrees now because I started, but very quickly because I hate them. So I just want to whine. I want to whine. Because all they ever did was spam. And they spammed everybody. And if you gave somebody's email address that you might be related to, it would spam them for the rest of their life until the buggers went bust, which was the best day in the world.
I'll tell you about my favorite contract / my less favorite contract. I, at one point in time, designed the experience of a better received spam, which is what we call a toast. You know the little pop-up that like slides up and down from the right or left corner of your screen? It's called a toast because it goes up and down and it's from the bottom. Yes. So it's basically an overlay on your screen. That experience has been around for a very, very, very long time. This is a dialog box, but it's positioned differently and there's a different animation. But when it's activated and how it's activated is the experience that I had to design. And that was my favorite job because it was well paying. It was my least favorite job because it was spam. And there's a thing called a serialized experience where you go on a page, where you go across a platform or an ecosystem, things are the same. Apple's very good at this. Serialized experience across platforms. A serialized experience can also mean what data is tracked across platforms. Data also includes heat maps, what you look at, how you look at it, when you look at it, how often you look at it, and why you're looking at it. And the counter for the why always has an origin source, and that is when my toast will pop up. That was my formula.
I want to whine about data and data because I was watching one of Dave's podcasts a few days ago talking about Britishisms. Data. Data.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That was privacy and privacy, wasn't it?
Privacy. It's privacy.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I've got this
I will
urge
defend
to
this.
correct people on some things.
I am American. We are taught the hard vowel. Whenever we can use a hard vowel, we will use a hard vowel.
This.
Not saying it's correct. It's just what we learned.
Yeah, and you also use data instead of data.
It's a harder vowel.
Yeah, but I'm Northern, so we use hard vowels for everything.
Yeah.
Look, I would love to say data.
To be fair. So do I these days.
I'm also thinking that's why Simon started losing his British accent, even though he moved to Czech, of all places.
Yeah.
Like I don't see how the progression of that accent went that way, but you can hear it, and I get it. Like, you don't want me pronouncing data like a Vietnamese person learning English, because I know how. It's not much better sounding.
I remember Simon from years ago, and he did sound much more English.
Oh, the thing that had to reference, not even reference, it was a research point on a visual edit that took me back to top 10s 9 years ago. His accent's dramatically different.
I can't remember. I don't watch YouTube anymore, so I haven't watched it for like 15 years. But now I watch it I just listen to it at 2.5 speed.
That's a lot better. That's what I do when I'm washing dishes.
Yeah, I just remember him from my moderation days, I think. He didn't do any BBC Earth. Did he do any BBC Earth? I can't remember if he did.
No, I don't think so.
The closest he gets to BBC Earth right now is Places.
It might have been. He probably was suggested from BBC Earth videos back then.
Yeah, that would make sense. Back in the geographic days.
BBC Earth was one of the hardest things I've ever moderated because...
Really? What's controversial about the Earth?
Well, I mean, there's a video on there, the bane of my life, and it's still there because I looked it up a few hours ago. The alcoholic vervet monkeys. Do you remember them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you sent me that. That was great. I was like, what the fuck is this?
that attracted so much racism. Like every day, there would be piles and piles of racist comments about, yeah. I mean, it's got the word monkeys in it, it's got the word alcohol in it, and it's got people stealing in it, or it's got monkeys stealing in it. Can you imagine how much racism that could possibly attract from the US?
You can't even put a clip in because the BBC will sue me for thinking about it.
But search alcoholic vervet monkeys.
The BBC are good about attribution. At least that's a thing. I'm not going to put a clip in here because that's not okay.
No. So you could see it.
So much racism. That was the worst video on BBC Earth. I mean, every other video had, maybe 50, 60 comments a day. That one would have 400 or 500.
I was thinking of basically what 55 to 70% of what Lord of the Rings is, a panning aerial shot of a beautiful open plain or, a jungle forest. I wouldn't ever think any of that be controversial, but when you got monkeys drinking alcohol and the verbiage
stealing
used,
yeah.
And I know where in the US it was coming from.
I used to moderate ABC Local in the US. And then most ABC local stations are in the southern states. That was the worst job I've ever had in my life, and I've spent most of my life dealing with rapists and murderers.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, yeah.
Moderators really do see the shittier sides of things.
Are we getting back to Dave's old technology?
There was quite a specific piece of technology that I think was way before its time, and I'm going to get one day. Just to have in my collection of crap. I'll have to get it when my wife's not paying attention. But it was a Braille, basically the first Braille laptop. I think it came out in 1988, so it's as old as me. It's called the Eureka A4, and they sold, I think, about 900 units until Stevie Wonder got one, and then the blind community were like, "Wow, Stevie's got one."
I remember the Eureka logo. That's a core memory.
But that's where I learned. That's why I learned BBC Basic programming, because that was the language that it supported. But it had an inbuilt modem for something from that time was quite unusual. I think our first computer had a modem. You had to put the phone in. But yeah, the point, sorry, that I am linking this to what you were talking about, is that you could use it to access the old bulletin boards. And there was still a few around functioning in 1997, which was when I first got online with the Eureka A4.
I've heard of that. I don't think I've got one in the museum. I'll have to look.
I'm pretty sure there is one in the the old tech museum, which I don't know if that's the same one that you worked with, Michael.
I'll have to look. I mean, you just reminded me of a piece of old technology that I wanted for most of my life, and then when I got it, it was absolute crap.
What was it?
I don't know if you remember the microwriter, which had a chord keyboard.
I do remember. I don't remember it being a thing, but I have seen one. My old next door neighbor has one.
It was in PC World every week, and it looked like the most wonderful thing on the planet. It had 7 keys, I think, 4 at the top. No, it had 5. No, it had 6 keys, sorry. 2 thumbs, all your fingers. And in theory, you could type anything on it. I guess it's like a stenographer's keyboard. That turned into the, I was going to say Agenda organizer later, which also had a chord keyboard on it. But it was, when I got them, they were just awful. I could not work out how to do anything on it. But it should have been a good idea.
Braille uses 7 keys.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
This uses 4, 5, 7. Maybe it does use 7. Maybe it has an extra one for your little finger to move. That would make sense. Or you could because you could do multiple things, couldn't you? Because a T was the 2 middle fingers. I don't remember.
That's how Braille works. You have 3 on each hand and a space bar, which is your 7, and all the letters are different combinations of those 6.
It's only one hand. You should look it up. It's actually a fascinating device. I've still got about 5 of them somewhere in a box. I was jealous of not having them, so I just bought all of them.
So if any of you were wondering where there was a shortage of such things.
Yeah. There's no micro-writers left in the world because Lawrie has them all. Bastard. He's hoarding them for the nuclear something or other.
Oh,
But you can't
Y2K
use
that
it.
didn't happen when our computers were thought to couldn't process a 0.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other old technologies that There's a technology that came too early that should never have come at any point in existence, which I remember, which was this. It's like a little mobile, pre-mobile. So it was before mobiles kind of existed. So it had a little. It was like an agenda, an organizer. Remember when they used to do electronic organizers?
Yeah.
It was an organizer
Like the
that had its
Palm
own radio.
PDAs.
It was an organizer for kids that had its own radio network. So you would link into this.
this.
Yes, and it would link into this whole thing with kids. But nobody had considered
The Paedophile
safety
Pro, I
aspects.
believe it was called.
Exactly. And it was such an amazing idea, but with no safety even ever considered. Oh God!
We
it's
had a
amazing.
version of that over the phone back in the day. It was called Loop. It was a phone network that you would call into, and basically it's a chat room voice call. It's like Discord, but random today. Oh my
I don't know,
God.
Discord's pretty random.
Well, not compared to what Loop was. So Discord, you have to be invited to a server or have a link to a server to be there. Loop was you had a phone
just
number
a
you would call
dial in,
into,
wasn't it?
and then
Yeah,
you have
you just call in
extensions to lead you to a room. So you would have to know how to get to those, but you could just enter in anything randomly and get somewhere. But it was a voice room. And you could have, if I recall correctly, like private chats where like in the middle of a call, you could like open up another line if your phone service provider supported multi-line. And I think call the same number with an extension, and then you would immediately have to enter in another extension to get to the room.
I'm very confused now.
It was complicated, but teenagers got there, and this is extremely early online dating.
That's
essentially.
interesting. And full disclosure, I nearly took over as CEO of Chat Roulette. But do you remember Chat Roulette?
I was just about to. I was trying to remember what it was called.
Oh my God, Chat Roulette. Yes, I remember
I've been
Chat Roulette.
always fascinated by Chat Roulette, and Andre, the guy who runs it, and I were talking for a long time about doing some good stuff with it. But I love Chat Roulette as a concept. I hate it. Well, I mean, Chat Roulette basically invented swiping. So
Yeah.
and it is, or Hot or Not. No, I think Chat Roulette was before Hot or Not.
Oh my God,
Roulette.
Hot or Not.
I'm going to remind you of all this crap now.
Yeah.
It was Chat Roulette, then it was Hot or Not, and then basically all the rest of the crap.
Oh, Hot or Not. Oh my God.
What
That was
the first-
2003.
Was it?
What was the first online, the first big online dating thing, Michael?
It would have been Match.com, but I mean, I wrote my first online dating thing in 1983 in COBOL, just to age me here, and that wasn't an app or anything, because obviously it wasn't an app, but dating sites in those days involved you posting in and then you using the computer back end to run batches of cards to match people. But mine ended up as a doggy dating or doggy breeding site, because it was basically exactly the same code and it was much easier than dealing with humans.
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of like a back end. Like it's content agnostic, it's relation based. Properties, values, and store and relate.
There's this interesting story of a guy. Where did I hear it? Wasn't this American Life? It was somewhere recently I heard it. Who set up a fake computer dating site in those days and paid his way through university doing it.
Really?
He pretended it was a computer on the back end and got all these messages and mails from people, posts rather from people, and then pretended it was a computer back end, but it never was. He was just mixing them up and matching them. But I think online.
I bet it worked as often as any of the others.
Probably did. I mean, that's the weird thing. I think
Here's the thing.
Match.com was probably the first. Go on.
I wanted to ask you this, but I know we're straying back into the online dating thing that we wanted to avoid.
Yeah, I
But
don't mind.
how, as a business model, is it viable? Because obviously, like if you're selling porn or food or whatever online, your happy customers will come back for more. But if any of those sites are truly successful, you'll never hear from those customers again.
If you listen to Match Group and me in the olden days, I would have told you it was a numbers game. So people like Hinge have tens of thousands of people joining every week. And I think Hinge advertises itself as the app that's meant to be deleted, which is why I use them as the example. And they know if they're going to get rid of a bunch of people, a new bunch of people are going to come on. But that's not happening anymore. In 2015, 2016, people were flocking to the apps. But now there's TikTok with hashtag groups, and you can meet people by your Taylor Swift hashtag, and you know they're not fake because you can see all their previous videos. And people are much more, younger people are much more aligned now to meeting people on TikTok, on other things like that, Discord sites, things like that. The dating sites are dying, but they haven't noticed it yet. And I get in trouble for saying that in the olden days, but I stick with it. And there's OkCupid, which... Oh, go on.
Okay, see.
Well, there's OkCupid, which is what I work for, so don't laugh too much, because it's probably my fault. But, I mean, we have a lot of non-monogamous people on there, so OkCupid was good in the fact that people didn't leave once they'd find someone to date, because they were looking for more. OkCupid was unique in that we were a sociological experiment disguised as a dating site, and I'm not even going to pretend that's not true, because we've said it a number of times in the past. I'm going to say we. I need to get out of... They have said it a number of times in the past. So like Christian Rudder wrote Dataclasm, which is an excellent book, and I disagree with quite a lot of it from personal experience. But I mean, he wrote a good book on that sort of thing. And we were always open. We told everybody about everything we did. We told them how the matching algorithm worked. We told them how people would meet. We told them never to use a paid dating site, because this is how paid dating sites are ripping you off, and why you should never pay for one, because it actually decreases your chance of making a decent match on a paid dating site, because of the way they have to show you the popular people first, and because of the way they have to hook you in. So I think OkCupid in the past was brilliant, and I carried that on when I started becoming the person who decided what we tell you, and I was always open. And that really pissed off Match Group. And Match Group threatened me a few months ago with saying something on Reddit. And
Yeah, I saw
pointed
that.
out to them. I pointed out to them that I was the person. They knew I was the person who decided what was public and what wasn't. So if they're going to take me to court for saying something that I said, I'd be their witness.
Isn't it funny how transparency is controversy?
It is, and I think OkCupid was brilliant because of its transparency, in the fact we couldn't rip people off. You couldn't say we were creating fake profiles to lure people in. We weren't doing gamification tricks to keep people on the site.
You mean you don't tell me there's a 36-year-old MILF 14 miles away from my zip code that's just waiting for me, and all I need to do is just Google auth into your site?
Oh God, yeah. But I think, yeah, dating sites hopefully are ending, and I think the time that OkCupid stopped becoming transparent was probably what killed the last remnant of transparency in that industry, and that's sad.
I mean, if you really... Okay, so I know you have a slight, if not much more refined psych background than mine. Mine is 7 years of college, but
That's not bad.
everything is cyclical and certain behaviors will always track. But the one thing that will always continue to be kind of a draw is like the mystery of things. No matter how much we want transparency, as humans, we like magic. We like things working how we don't know. Some of us so that we can figure out, others because we don't want to figure it out. Algorithms and how a dating site would match you with someone is always going to be this mysterious thing that no one understands, even though if you pay attention for like 13 minutes, you can. I would love to say in the future, when everyone's on a dating site or forum or room or hashtag, oh my gosh, this algorithm made sure that I was surrounded by people that were just like-minded as me, even though all I did was just take in ones and zeros from a heat map. And like, you know, just because I hovered over someone's avatar long enough, they were invited to this room.
I think that's... People didn't understand why I was so obsessed with chat roulette. And chat roulette I can guarantee you chat roulette has zero algorithms. Chat roulette really genuinely does match you with somebody absolutely random.
Is it still a thing?
Yeah, it is. It's actually still quite popular, and Andre makes quite a lot of money from it. But unfortunately, and the reason I'm not CEO of chat roulette possibly, is that he's Russian, and that was when the Russian-Ukraine war started. And he makes all his money out of Bitcoin, and I didn't want to be paid out of Bitcoin.
How have we come from a place of what cryptocurrency could have and should have been a decentralized thing? You just centralized the thing.
We're doing technology before its time. Do you remember LET systems, local exchange trading systems in Britain? This is not really technology, but it's sociology. They were great. They were the precursor to cryptocurrencies. And yeah, they were fascinating.
I mean, if we want to go that far, Pokemon cards were too. Pogs before them.
Pogs.
Like if you had a very solid performing slammer, you could get entire rolls of people's Pogs for it.
I still have all my Pogs.
Shut the
Pogs
fuck up.
Are Pogs like conkers then?
Kind of. The 2D conkers, if you will.
2D conkers.
Yeah.
I've never understood Pogs, but now I do. They're conkers.
All you do is smash a thing against smaller versions of itself made out of an inferior material and hope it knocks over. It's an angles game. Come at it sideways. The whole thing will topple over.
It's a cross between Tiddlywinks and Conkers.
Okay, you're really speaking British now, because that sounds just silly. We had slammers and Pogs and towers of Pogs.
Conkers, Tiddlywinks.
You say Conkers, I just think of Conker's bad fur day.
You're outnumbered here. Conkers and Tiddlywinks.
What are Tiddlywinks?
I'm letting Dave explain this. I'm going to drink.
My wife just handed me a bowl of food I'm going to eat while I enjoy this. But what is it? Like a tiddlywink to me just sounds like something you would say, like it would be a synonym rather for bullshit.
No.
I must have some on my desk.
I bet you have as well.
I'm thinking I probably do. I've got a Playmobil. Do you want a Playmobil?
All the words I'm thinking of to describe Tiddlywinks.
I've got a CR20 2016. That'll do. It's one of them. Imagine a CR 2016.
I have an entire drawer full. No one knows this unless you're a dad that's tech inclined. So many kids' toys are powered by those.
Yeah,
so many.
They're the little round the coin batteries.
And we're not talking about 2022s or 2024s. If you think it's what's powering your motherboard.
Thinnest.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they will do as well, but thinner. And you used one to ping the other, yeah?
You also flicked them to ping the other.
Really?
We're gonna have to. I don't know, because the problem is with me and Dave is we have a north-south divide, me and Dave. So it's basically like somebody from New York talking to somebody from Kentucky. We do have this slight divide on how things work and how language works. With Tiddlywinks, for me, used to flick them. So you used to get one Tiddlywink and then flick it. And then it would go over there and try and knock things down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could, we used to, do you mean like flick it with your finger?
No, I'd flick it with another Tiddlywink.
Okay, yeah. We used to do that, or put it down and then sort of slide another one back off the edge so it would flick it forwards. Yeah. Reverse flickage, if you will.
Is this kind of like paper football?
No, this is not.
No. I can't.
And you can guarantee that the rules would vary by city.
Yeah, and by person to person.
And by person to person. Yeah.
I mean, that's with any kind of games with kids involved.
One thing I've discovered about America, which is better than Britain, is lawn darts, which are banned now.
I
But
don't
lawn
know
darts-
if we define better.
Lawn darts,
The same way.
lawn darts originated in the UK.
Oh, did they? They're
I
fast.
believe so, yeah.
I was, yeah.
I was fascinated by it too. The same way I was fascinated by Rotten.com in the mid 90s. Like, this is kind of perverse, isn't it? Like, you got a sharp thing that's weighted to one end and you're just going to huck it in the air randomly, hoping it like lands on something. That just.
Well, no, I think the point was to aim. You just fucking throw it in the air and
Yeah,
see
but what was the target audience,
you would.
man?
Hey, I got banned from the pub darts league because they said my throwing hedgehogs were cheating.
That would be fun.
I don't want to sound ableist.
Ableist. Come on, sound ableist.
Go on!
Go on.
I don't know if I want a blind dude in my bar throwing things.
I do. That'd be so fun. We could point him roughly.
I was for someone who couldn't see, I was pretty good at darts. I would go put my hand on the board, like my finger on the triple 20 to orientate myself, step back to the oche, and I could usually hit the board.
Well, I mean, if you could do that, why don't you just do triple tens or 30s? Why'd you choose the 20?
Just because that was the top of the board. I wasn't aiming for that. It was just
Oh, it was
that's
a point of
where
reference.
that's where I would that's where I would put. Once I was in the bar one night and ever so infrequently, I just know something's gonna work, and so I'll do it, and usually it does, and it's one of those things. It's so cool.
It's just how you
I'm
met your
such a
wife.
child. Yeah. But I was in the bar and there were these guys playing just bullseye, basically. First person to get a bullseye wins the point. And I was walking past and my brain just went, you can do it. Get a dart and throw it. And I was like, I'll do it. And I just went and walked away. I didn't even wait to see if it had gone in. It just hit the bullseye and I had walked off, and just everybody who was standing by the dartboard was like, fuck it, you're lying. There's no way you can't see,
Yeah. I would have thought the same shit.
But the probability is probably fairly good of hitting a bull if you're just aiming randomly.
Yeah,
I think lawn darts is designed as natural selection for families.
yes.
Get rid of the sibling.
Okay, did the Brain Blaze video just launch? Because like you can't hear it, but I can, and you had like 9 subscribers just now. Like I'm not talking about like within the last hour. I'm talking about like just now.
9 o'clock it went out. So
How many
and
things is
the
he doing
plug
at once?
the plug was at the end. So
Okay.
he's superhuman. Like the stuff Julian can keep his concentration on. I can barely keep concentration on the conversation I'm having.
I have ADHD. My constantly like right now I'm thinking about something else while like I'm playing with something else. I'm medicated too.
I've got ADHD and autism, and I've got the shitty parts of both of them. I've got none of that brilliant genius that meant to have.
It's not brilliant genius. It's this is why I should have been in marketing instead of design. It's how you leverage it. Like I can't focus on one thing for an extended amount of time for the life of me because I'm just going to get too bored and I'm not going to have enough reinforcement in the next 6 seconds to keep me going. So I need to constantly shift the attention of where I can actually get that reinforcement. I had a thing that I was going to say for like tech that's well before its time, but I think it was just right for its time, but it was a little bit too advanced for that moment specifically. And it was the Game Gear because it required 6 fucking batteries to run, but it was great. I think like a perfect port of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was on that thing.
Which was the Game Gear? I'm trying to remember. That
It was
wasn't one
Sega's
of
only
The
handheld back in the
Sega
90s.
one.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was massive.
Sega's Game Boy ripoff.
Okay, if you watch the ad, if you're at home, go to well, you're on YouTube. Open another tab.
I'm at home. You
Don't
can
pause
see
this
I'm
one.
at
Just
home.
mute it for the watch
Okay.
time. Open another tab. Look up 1995 Game Gear ad. This thing was like this big, and it was like the edgelord version of an advertisement of a handheld because they shat on the Game Boy so hard and they were like, this is edgy, this is metal, this is for adults. You're a kid if you like the Nintendo, but if you like the Sega Game Gear, this was it. And it was probably presented that way too, like voice and all.
They're in a car, they're playing with their Game Gear, they're putting lipstick on for some reason.
Because that's an adult thing to do, Mr. Lawrie.
And Sonic the Hedgehog is doing somersaults. They're putting more lipstick on.
It means it's hot.
This is a lipstick advert. This is Revlon.
Game Boy, Sega lipstick.
Okay,
oh my god. This isn't like early tech before its time thing, but like just why tech? Like, do you remember like the late 90s like accessories to video games? Like the octagon that was supposed to be motion tracking for Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. Do you remember the scope for the for the Super Nintendo? It just never worked. The original Nintendo had a gun that was fairly accurate. You could play Duck Hunt with it, and then and it worked on like refraction from a CRT television, from an infrared beam. And then they released the scope where you had to have these two paddles on either side of the telly, and if you breathed on one of them, it threw the whole thing off and didn't work. They
went from like the most ingenious way of motion tracking to like the opposite end of what you should do for motion tracking.
It was fucking huge as well, wasn't it? The Nintendo.
It was the 90s. Everything was fucking huge, man.
Oh no, the original Nintendo gun was like, what, about that big?
Yes, but that was perfect sized.
And the scope was like this huge shoulder-mounted deal.
God.
The Super Nintendo scope was obscene.